Good morning, day 340. Oh my gosh, 25 more days. It's a little rainy and drizzly, so I'm finding some shelter where I can just sit and have a chat. I read 1 John chapters 2 and 3 this morning, and what really jumped off the page for me was the word practice. What are you practicing? This is what we do, the habits that we have, and the things which are what we practice on a daily basis is who you are. So what are you practicing? A lot of us say one thing, but then we're practicing or doing other things. And practice, I don't believe that practice makes perfect. That's a weird saying. But practice certainly does lead to, a level of mastery in something. And depending on how much you're practicing, what you're really focusing on is what you practice. Or even being kind of lazy and not focusing on something is a practice. Hey, good morning, good morning. So Peter says those who are in God's family, they stop practicing sinning. And because they're in God's family now, and they're children of God, and so they don't want to do that anymore. Their desires change, and then they start moving over to, it doesn't mean they don't sin, but what they're intentionally trying to practice is Christian living, what flows from a heart that is loving and loves other people and cares and all those things. So you start to you can be in the world, but not of the world, in Christianese. And you stop practicing sinning. And I'm like, whoa, I just have not seen those words put together in quite the same way in the Bible before. Like, I've read the whole Bible this year, just about, and I don't think I've seen it put in that way. Sometimes, and maybe it is there, and maybe my eyes weren't ready to see it, or it just didn't jump off the page to me that way, but it certainly did this morning. I'm like, whoa, practicing. What are you practicing? And again, many of us, this is where the human mind, the brain, can actually hinder us, is that we think things, and then we think that that's a practice. We're practicing thoughts, but we're not following up with practicing in the doing and the actions. And so we might be over here professing one way of belief, but then you look at your life. I always tell people when they come to me and they ask for help and they're like, I'm trying. I'm like, okay, let's look at where you spend your resource. Show me your calendar, show me your bank account, and then I'll tell you what's really important to you. I mean, it speaks for itself. So while a lot of us, and this is a hard truth, I had to look in the mirror and do the same thing. Like, where was my money going? Where was my time going? Even though in my mind, I was like, I really want to be over here doing these things and practicing these things. But I wasn't. I was over here doing this, wanting one thing, but doing another. Paul talks a lot about that. Why do I do the things? So because you're practicing, you're over here and you're spending your precious life resources on those things. Not over here and doing what it takes to switch and change your practices. And when you think about when you're new at something. And this is what adults, this is why we get the constant encouragement from the Bible to be childlike. Because there's something that happens when we become adults that we do not like to be new at anything. We kind of think that we have to have it all figured out, that we have to be capable, that's sort of like what an adult means. No. It doesn't matter how old you are allowed to be new at things. And the more you embrace being new at something means that you can enter into a practicing mindset. You've got to start, you fumble and stumble at first, and you're like, this is so hard, I don't know how to do this. You have to get over that hump of something being new, and you might have an improper expectation that you should just be good at something right away. But even when your heart has changed and you want to practice good things, good morning, it's going to feel weird at first when you're over here doing all of these things and then you try doing something new. You're going to feel like a newbie. You're going to feel like a rookie who doesn't know what they're doing, and it's going to feel hard. This is what we adults really need to go back to, that childlike, open-hearted, like curious, like, okay, I can figure it out. I can do it. And allow ourselves to really be new at something and get rid of these crazy expectations we have that we should just be masters of the universe at everything just because we're adults now. And age, and even adult, it's just a chronological tracking of numbers. It really is no reflection of your actual maturity and your emotional intelligence or growth. It's a number. So many of us who even think we're adults are really just immature teenagers, or maybe even, that are in adult bodies, and we've never. So part of I think even becoming a mature adult is allowing yourself to be new at things, and that is because then that's where you can move into competence with a lot of things versus, in psychology terms, it's the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks a lot about. If you have a fixed mindset, you're afraid to fail, which means you're afraid to really learn, because part of learning is sometimes fumbling, stumbling, falling. And one of the most common examples of this is even going back to like toddlerhood. Can you imagine if a toddler just said, oh, well, I can't walk. I'm just going to have to sit here forever, and then just gave up? No, we don't do that. It's like, by golly, I know these two legs can figure it out, and we're willing to fall and stumble. And so we've got to do that even with our Christian walk as well. And that, I think a lot of new people that are new to this way of thinking and living have a really crazy expectation that they should just be, like perfect, non-sinning humans who just walk around with love and sunshine and rainbows, coming out of beaming rainbows everywhere. No, it's a practice. It is a practice. So you have to first have the thoughts, you have ideas, then you have thoughts, and then you've got to walk it out in faith and with curiosity and knowing, okay, I'm going to have to practice. I've been over here having all these years of practicing sinning. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go over here and live this good life that God has promised, and he says these are the things that you should be doing, and I'm going to go over here and practice that. Practice is not perfection. It is not getting it right all the time. You're going to stumble and fall and sin and be human. Like, practice allows for the fullness of humanity. But as you start to practice and build a new life, literally a new body of experience in the new ways of practicing goodness and love and grace and, all of those things, then it will start to be like, oh, yeah, this is a better way. I can do this. Oh, this is how you do this. Oh, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, maybe instead of just reacting and yelling, I don't have to be right. I can hold my tongue. My husband is on here watching the other day and is probably saying, yeah, you should practice that the other day. Yeah, I should have. We both should have. We both got caught up in that. But we're practicing. We're practicing being married in a new way. We're learning some new ways to relate. We're trying to correct some old ways of relating. Patterns, those are hard to break, those habits. And the ways that you're used to living and relating to each other are patterns and habits that you've practiced for a long time. It takes a long time to also go over here and practice a new way. But with practice, we get better and better. It changes our experience. We get evidence that this is the better thing to practice and do. And then we move more over to this side. But just like any kind of practice, some days are better than others. You get more sleep, you have better nutrition, like things are clicking that help you be better at your practice. Some days life happens and there's things that make you backslide. That's part of the human experience. So once you have a change of heart, you open your heart to something greater than you, the greater power, God, love, but it's a practice, and allow yourself to be new at it. This is so important, y'all, so important. We are not masters, and we have such wrong expectations in our adult lives, many of us. So return to being childlike and open and curious and imperfect. That will keep you on the practicing path. But practice means doing, not just thinking. So don't be deceived by your thoughts. If they're not backed up with action, you're not practicing. All right. See you tomorrow as we finish up the book of 1 John. I think we're finishing it, or maybe it's just chapter 4. So, all right. See you tomorrow. Bye.